All right, we're back with another Sons of UCF collaboration series. Trace Trelko has joined me as always, and we went quad box tonight to open our good friends from the Pegasus Podcast, Christian Simmons, Bailey Adams with us. Gentlemen, good evening. Welcome into the collaboration series. Happy to have you both with us.
Thank you for having us. Deeply excited and honored to be here.
You seem
very
thrilled.
excited.
I cannot wait to get into this. By the way, if you don't follow the Pegasus Podcast, do so wherever you get your downloadable content, or by the way, on this very YouTube channel here at the Sons of UCF. All right, Trace, I'm going to start with you. Why topic?
Of course you are.
We're going to go around the wheel of fun tonight, Trace. Let me start here. You've been out of fall camp all week. You've been following this team. What's the biggest story? If I take quarterback off the board for you right now, because that's the obvious one, what's the biggest story so far for you in this first week of UCF fall camp?
I find it refreshing to hear from Scott Frost after a couple of seasons of Gus Malzahn and his 20-second sound bites of coach speak. I find Scott Frost direct and refreshing. So that's my favorite moment so far of preseason camp.
Christian, your biggest takeaway non-quarterback is what?
Yeah, I guess if I had to go non-quarterback, I'd have to talk about whether Taven Jackson is better than Ja'Carri Brown and Cam Fancher. But I kind of underrated storyline that I feel like is not getting a lot of play. And Bailey and I talked about this a little bit. I don't remember if it was this week or last week. Is we still don't know exactly. We have hints, but exactly how this offensive line is going to come together. And there's been so much talk about the offense as a whole and who's going to be out there at quarterback that I don't know if we're not touching enough on probably the most key aspect of whether the offense is going to be able to do anything this year. And I don't know. I find that a little interesting and potentially frightening all rolled into one. But I think what's cool is that you can talk about storylines. I feel like the biggest storyline in general is just how we don't know anything about any aspect of this entire offense. And I think there's a beauty in that and also just terror in that. And that's been very interesting to follow these few weeks, this last couple of weeks.
All right, Bailey, top that. What's your biggest?
This one's gonna sound so boring, but I think the quick revival of Antoine Jackson on defense, somebody that Christian and I talked about on our podcast way too much last year for all the wrong reasons, and we were terrified that he was coming back for another season. But it turns out maybe that injury was a lot more serious than we might have thought, and a lot more of the reason for his poor play last year, because from the little highlights we're getting in fall camp, he's looked really good, and we've heard good things about him. And I remember when he came in last year from ECU, I was excited, and then it quickly turned into not excited. But I'm back to cautiously excited for what he's going to do this year.
I said on a podcast that I was unhappy he didn't transfer. That is a real podcast that exists.
Christian, nobody said wide receiver. Are we blowing this wide receiver thing out of proportion? Should we be that concerned about the receiver core?
Yeah, I think we should be at least mildly concerned, since I don't think there's a single spot nailed down right now. I liked a Scott Frost quote from, I think it was last week, when he said that wide receiver is kind of a microcosm of the whole team, because I feel like that just really sums it up well. But I don't know if there's a bigger question mark anywhere, because my reason I believe it is a serious issue is I know someone will emerge there. I don't think we will go through the season and get to the end of it and go, wow, it turns out they didn't have a Big 12 level wide receiver. But the odds of 3 guys emerging or 4 guys emerging who can all compete at that level, that doesn't feel likely to me. And that just feels like that's going to be limiting. So I don't think we're making too much of it at all.
Trace, is that the weak spot? You were nodding on video if you're watching. You were nodding feverishly at the wide receiver comment. You must have concern there, I assume?
Well, because we don't know really anything. And so that is the biggest concern with no returning production, right? So I agree with Christian. You're going to see somebody emerge, you hope, right? You feel uncertainty at quarterback. You don't know what you've got in offensive line, but a big question mark, a big mystery is wide receiver. Somebody's going to step up. But, when we saw limited video action and moments inside the Nicholson Fieldhouse, all the accolades to the defense, but wide receivers weren't getting separation as much as quarterbacks were inconsistent in those short moments we were inside the field house. So that's going to have to step up. They've got a scrimmage coming up, and hopefully you'll begin to see some separation and some guys step up.
All right, so we don't know about quarterback. We don't know about O-line. We don't know about receiver. Bailey, what do we know about this offense?
Running backs. So they have some good running backs. At least the two-headed monster, I believe they're going to be by the end of the year as deep as the 4. I think Stacey Gage is somebody that we'll see a lot of, and I think we're going to see a little bit of Tavion Swint. And that's what I feel the best about, probably because it's one of the only positions on the offense where I know the guys' names at this point in the offseason. And yeah, as long as the offense is or the offensive line is serviceable, I think we'll see a lot of good stuff from the running backs.
So Trace and I stumbled upon this last week on Sons Today. I think we feel better about the defense. It sounds like, if I'm hearing the three of you correctly, you are all in agreement. Christian, do you feel better about this defense than this offense?
Yeah, I think that's probably the.
There was hesitation there, though.
My hesitation is I want to talk to the informed fan who feels better about the offense than the defense, and I want to understand the inner workings of their mind and how they possibly could have come to that conclusion. We were actually just talking about on our show that went up this week. It's kind of funny because obviously there are a lot of national websites and blogs and all those things that do their Big 12 season previews, and you can basically, if you want to scroll to the very bottom, you will find UCF in the 15th or 16th spot on all of those. And what I find interesting is whenever I read any of those, whether it's like CBS or ESPN, wherever, it's all about this team it's just nothing but unknowns. They don't have a quarterback. They don't know anything about their offense. They don't have skill talent. No one ever really touches on the defense. And I feel like part of that is because while this is a team with a ton of turnover, the defense does kind of have a decent amount of continuity, and also brought in a lot more guys through the portal who you can a lot more easily get hyped about. And we've already heard really good things about guys like Phillip Dunham, guys like Sincere Edwards. I don't feel bad about the defense at all. I think there's a chance that this is like an upper third defense, maybe even better in the Big 12. That would not surprise me. It's just a question of, can the offense do literally anything to complement that this season?
So you're now pro Alex Grinch, a departure from where you might have been a couple of months ago.
I saw Nigel Kelly drop into coverage and get a pick, and I said, I'm sold. Alex Grinch is a genius. Can do no wrong.
Trace,
but the defense gives you the most upside, right? You feel pretty good about that. But as we found in years past, when you really believe in the defensive line, they let you down. So maybe it's the offense that steps up and it's the defense that lets us down after all.
I bet you $100 that's not what happens.
Well, based on the predictions that you've made year over year, I'm not sure how much confidence I have in your preseason picks.
You know what? Touche.
Really, do you think this D line is the strength of this defense? Is it strength of the team overall? Just the entire team is the D line play?
I think it is. I think it's again one of the more proven groups that there is on this roster. I think at every level of the defense, I feel pretty good about the groups there. I just think there's a little more unknown at linebacker as usual because they brought in 3 or 4 transfer linebackers, and we know some of the guys in the secondary, a mix of transfers and mainstays. That I feel good about that. But as far as the high end talent and the depth at the defensive line, that's where I feel best. I mean, you got guys returning like Malachi Lawrence, like Nigel Kelly, and then when you're talking about the same outside, Sincere Edwards, some of these other guys, that Isaiah Nixon starting to hopefully show up this season, and then of course on the interior you've got John Walker. You've got you don't have Lee Hunter, but you have some other guys that you brought in, R.J. Jackson. Some of the guys you brought in from the transfer portal that I think have some proven production out there and should be pretty good for us up front.
Guys, we had media day for players last week, right? We have players, we have coaches, everyone walking around. I turn around, and one Trace Trelko is posted up with the kicker and the long snapper. We don't often talk about special teams, Trace. You spent a lot of time, frankly, with the specialist unit.
You've edited the interviews, haven't you? You're like 10 minutes with a long snapper? How is it possible?
We don't talk about that third unit a lot, but obviously it was a unit last year that was certainly disappointing for UCF. They've cleaned house. It's a whole new ball game over there. What do you make of what you've seen so far or heard so far from the specialist unit?
I like the guys. And for me, watching UCF, that's important to connect with players. And I have struggled with the transfer portal and losing guys. So the opportunity to talk with them for extended periods of time, I feel pretty good about both of those guys, Noé Ruelas and the long snapper Dalton Riggs, both at Player Media Day. But we'll see how they come together, right? They're new faces. It seems like the learning curve for those guys is not like it is at the other positions. It is probably a unit we saw last year with the changes at kicker. There were struggles on special teams, and it'd be nice to see that unit return to some prominence. It's been a while since we've seen a kickoff return for touchdown, punt return for touchdown, and you certainly could help out the offense if you could get some special team scores.
It's interesting, Christian. I guess I kind of feel like Trace in a bit, right? Are you struggling to find connections on this team? Because the number grows, by the way. First it was 50 new players, and it was 60 new players. Then it was 70 new players. Now it's down to 69 new players. So whatever the number is, are you finding a struggle to like find a connection with this team and get kind of excited about certain aspects just because there's so much you don't yet know?
I connect with wins, and if they win, I will be fine. I what I find interesting, because I do think that what Trace just said, and honestly, I've already feel like it's been little things like this, like all of these players being available and the podcast and things like that. I feel like we're already seeing more connection than we maybe did in the Gus era, since Gus seemed mildly to seriously terrified of players speaking under any circumstances. But I do think there's a little bit of a symptom here for UCF where we really don't like this era and feel like it's too much portal movement and it's hard to find guys we connect with. I don't know if the teams that have been very successful in this era feel that way. Like, I don't know if Texas Tech fans are hung up on connection because they just paid for all the top transfers. So I feel like UCF fans will feel differently about that year in and year out if UCF finds a way to like manage the system and actually be successful. I think it's the losing tied with the revolving door of players that sort of leads to those feelings more than anything else. But I don't know.
So if you're going to lose with the guys that brought you there.
There you
not
go.
The new guys that you don't know.
100%. That is the recipe for modern college football.
Bailey, a lot of talk the last couple of weeks about culture. Scott Frost, we're building the culture. I guess just dusting off the old banners that weren't taken down in the facility and just refreshing those bad boys.
Foreshadowing. They knew Frost would be back.
Do you buy into this culture thing at all, Bailey? How much do you buy into kind of it? I know everyone says they want elite culture, they want great culture, but not everyone wins, right? So do you buy into that? Do you feel like that's a thing that's actually legit, that Frost is A, wanting to build a culture, but B, you're seeing seeds of it actually being built right now with this new regime?
Yeah, I think I buy into it with Scott Frost more than I would with just any other coach, I think, because we've seen him do it before. And I know there's been so much change, but something we've talked about on our show is like it's not about like it's never going to be a thing anymore with the current state of college football where you can just get by only on culture, but it's about making enough of a culture where it's hard for guys to leave, hard for them to say, yeah, I'm getting an offer somewhere else that's a lot more money, they're still going to leave. But if it's a little bit more money somewhere else, but they like it at UCF and they love the culture, they love the guys that they're in the room with, they love their coaching staff, maybe they'll take a little less because they're happy where they are. I think that could go a long way. And again, we'll see. A lot of it is going to be winning and how that comes together, because it's easier to – I think it's easy. Yeah, it's easier to build a culture when you're winning and you're having fun out there on the field, and you have less chance of things falling apart. But I think there's something to it. I don't know that it's going to be the end all be all, but I think there's a lot to it.
Let's see what the culture is like when they get rolled over in Manhattan, Kansas. If they go on a 5-game losing streak, if half a dozen guys opt out and preserve their red shirt, then let's see where this culture talk. It's talking season right now. All of this sounds good. A couple of weeks away from game one. Let's see where culture kicks in when they struggle.
Christian, you, Trace, and I were in the room for Scott Frost opening presser when he dropped the word mercenary into the conversation, which I don't think any of us had on our bingo card. What do you kind of make of the way Frost has talked about this era? Spoiler alert, not a fan. But what do you kind of make of how upfront and how kind of open he's been about his disdain for everything that isn't on the grass, as Josh Heupel would say?
I think, he needs to stop. I think we all understand that.
But he said it again. He said the word mercenary again with Jim Rome on his national radio show.
Did he really? I haven't gone back and looked at that yet. I saw that happen
Tuesday.
today.
Said it again, yeah.
So that happened earlier. Was that, I guess, last week? And his feedback was, "I have a new catchphrase, and we're just going to do this more." So that's good. But listen, I understand. I really, really do understand Frost's frustration. And I don't think anyone I don't think the average UCF fan or the average college football fan or the average college football coach necessarily disagrees with anything that he said in these couple of sort of, I don't want to call them rants because that sounds too strong, but just these sort of these tangents he's gone on about the portal and how tangents is a good neutral word. I probably shouldn't have said the word. One of my favorite things people do is they say, I don't want to say the word rant, but, and then the only word you're going to think is rant. So that's what I just did there. And that's cool. But I think it's fine to think that stuff, and I think most coaches agree with it. There are only a handful of coaches in college football who are comfortable saying that stuff out loud, and I don't know if it's a group that Frost necessarily wants to be a part of, because it's typically the programs that aren't adapting well. That in no way means I think that's Frost's situation. I think he's just been out of it for a couple of years, so I think like the shock factor is a little new to him, because that's a pretty rare situation to be in. Like most even new head coaches are guys who were still working in college athletics these last couple of years. They know it. It's like all new to him. So I get the frustration. It's fine. I don't think the mercenary take is inaccurate in any way, shape, or form. I just don't think we need to be talking about, or I don't think that it's a good thing that everyone is talking about the head coach's mercenary take. I just don't think that's really the messaging you want to put out there right before the season starts, especially we know how the players operate. We know they're taking the stuff in and they're seeing what he says. I joked with Bailey on our show. I was like, was there some player who's like watching that or scrolling Twitter and sees that? And he's like, wait, am I the mercenary? Is he talking about me? I just don't know if it's their productive.
It's the kicker. Okay. It's the kicker. He's the mercenary.
Bailey, your thoughts on kind of the way Frost has approached his Christian said rant. I'll say diatribe, perhaps.
That's the word I was going to go for. That was the word I was going to go for. Is diatribe
against the era that we're in.
I don't disagree with any of that, but I do think that would be a fun counterpoint to just say like UCF should just go all in with it and replace the future of college football banners in the stadium with like something like this is a team of mercenaries and just start giving like printing mercenary merch and we should go all in with it. Why not?
You bring up an interesting point. What is the slogan for this year's team? What is the billboard campaign? What is the motto?
It's not the
future of college football.
You can't really do. I don't know. You could because they're still doing Rise and Conquer. I guess you could bring back UCF Fast and UCF Fierce. I don't.
Are those like catchphrase like that? They say that, but like, is there like a good like slogan catchphrase?
What was it back then? Was it
National
just
Champs
Rise and Conquer?
Undefeated?
No, before that.
Bring that one back.
Yes.
No matter how many games they win.
I have a question actually, and I think this is the best question for Trace because I know Trace, you're the one who hasn't missed a thing. Has anyone asked Scott Frost for his take on the national championship stuff? Because that did happen after he was gone, technically.
I don't think that has come up.
It came up. Well,
did it come up in his opening? Yeah.
Did it? Okay.
I don't. Did it come up in his opening presser when he was introduced? Did it come up?
I don't think it did.
I don't think it did either, and I don't think it's going to be brought up now.
Oh yeah,
you know why? Because UCF media, UCF fans, it's in the past to us.
It's fact.
Only other fan bases are bringing it up still. Someone brought up Florida fan brought it up to me today. So
I'd be curious to ask him what he thinks on it because I'd be curious if he equivocates at all on the thing that he was paid a bonus for winning. I don't know. I'd just be curious to hear what his take is on the national championship situation.
That's something maybe you should ask.
I'll fit that in between uniform questions.
I thought he said when he was at Nebraska that, if he was still here, he didn't know if they'd be doing all that. I thought there was some like kind of controversy with UCF fans about that at the time.
I do very vaguely remember that from a few years ago.
What's interesting to me about the national championship is that I feel like that continues to hang over him now, right? Because there's a comparison to 2017 that just does not go away. And he's either going to go and achieve a level of success in this first season with UCF, or he risks continuing to be a losing head coach year over year over year, right? So I think something's got to change there, right? He's got to have success and get away from he can't win, but he can't match 2017 in his 2025 return.
It's his only winning season.
I was going to say he's looking for his second ever winning season this year as a head coach.
That's the aberration in his coaching career right now. That is the outlier, unfortunately. When you look at it, Bailey, help me with something. I'm not the smartest guy in the world, right? But
neither am I.
We don't feel, well, then you and I will struggle with this. We don't feel good about the offense, right? The defense we feel okay about. There's a lot of things we don't know. We're not quite sure what this team is. Yet it feels like the fans are more optimistic than I've seen them in the last couple of years. Why is that? Why are we so unsure about everything that's happening? We have no idea if we can actually throw a football in the air and have somebody catch it. But yet there's more excitement and energy than there's been. Help me understand that. I don't get it.
One, it's August. Early August.
I think
two,
August, confirmed.
The last time we all saw Scott Frost at the Bounce House, not in a scrimmage setting, but the last time we saw him, he was wearing an AAC Champions hat and crying and hugging his players, and they had just gone to 12-0. Last time we'd see him coach an actual game for UCF was in Atlanta, and they beat Auburn, and they finished 13-0. I think that's part of it too, is it's just, everyone wants to believe that Frost is back and so are the good times, but also it's August and everybody feels just like they can just let their imaginations run wild for another 23 days until we see what happens on the first game and be like, maybe this team is not going to be that great. But I like having fun for now.
I'm letting my imagination run wild all the way to the UNC game personally, but we'll see what happens.
Is Scott Frost a good coach? Do we know that?
Ooh.
Excuse me.
Let's get 2 shows canceled at once. Go ahead, drop your answer.
Well, I mean, do we know? Did we see him as a good coach at Nebraska?
The Nebraska situation, I mean, honestly, I just don't know what to make of it. I do think one thing that's been like a little, I'm surprised it hasn't been in bigger talking points. It's not exactly like Matt Rule came in and lit it up. Like most of the problems are still the problems there. And I don't think that he was ever the right fit for that job. I know we've talked about this in our podcast before, and I swear to God, I'm telling the truth. For some reason, I found this video on YouTube and like during COVID that it was some high school coach, Scott Frost was speaking to local high school coaches and explaining his offense, and someone filmed it and put it on YouTube. It is not on YouTube anymore. I found the account it was on. The whole account is gone. And in that video, at one point, he casually talks about how what he likes to do with his offense wouldn't work at Nebraska because you can't get those type of players up there. And I thought that was a fairly shocking thing to just have out on the internet, given he then took the Nebraska job about a year after that video was taken. So I don't think I think his sample size is so small. I don't think it's as simple as you can just say, well, things went badly at Nebraska, so he's a bad coach. But I also don't know if you were to grab anyone who's not in the greater Orlando area and try to explain to them why Scott Frost is a good coach, it'd be hard to make a compelling case given what we know right now. It just feels like he needs a couple more years here for us to kind of find out one way or the other.
It's which coach is he? Because the one at UCF and the personality he had at UCF, and again, that's why this could work, is it's all about the fit, and the fit at Nebraska wasn't great. But personality-wise, it seemed like he changed in Nebraska too. Like he kind of felt like he had to be more of a hard ass than he was when he was in Orlando, and you know, being all the players' best friend. So if he's going to be more of that, I think the culture building aspect of his coaching is still there, and I think we're seeing that already. X's and O's wise, like I was always a fan of his offense. I think I don't remember at the time if I was looking into the inner workings of his play calling the way I might have been under Gus, but I remember him being a solid coach at UCF. I didn't pay the closest attention at Nebraska because I couldn't bring myself to watch Nebraska football, but I think it's kind of the jury's still out, which is a weird thing to say about a guy who's had 6 or 7 seasons of coaching under his belt.
Is he a good coach because he had Mackenzie Milton?
Well, now we're getting into the Charlie Strong argument.
Listen, like maybe, but I don't know. I used to, when I was a more bitter person, when I didn't have to defend Scott Frost as my school's head coach.
You used to be more
oh
bitter?
Yeah, you have. I am so not bitter now. I am a calm, zenful person. There may be podcasts where I've said that exact take, that Scott Frost's only success came with Mackenzie Milton as his quarterback. And while I still think that there is a hint of truth to that, the couple things I'd say there is he did recruit Milton, so it's not like he doesn't get credit for that. And second is there are a lot of very, very highly regarded college football coaches who most of their success came when they had a dynamic quarterback. Like, yeah, it's easier to be good as a coach when you have a dynamic quarterback, which that brings me back to the question of not just can Scott Frost coach with whatever roster's in front of him, can he assemble a team like that again? Can he go find someone else like Mackenzie Milton? Is Kane Archer that guy? I mean, that's more the question to me, is can he, especially in this era where development and like mining recruiting is probably more important than ever, since they're not going to be able to spend like Texas Tech money on this stuff. Can he go do what he did last time and find all these guys who the big schools are not hot on, who can go on to be legendary type players, like anyone from Mackenzie Milton to Gabe Davis to Richie Grant to whoever? I didn't mean for that to end in an awkward silence. I thought it was a pretty good point, but that's fine. We could just act like I said crazy stuff. No problem with me.
All right, well then, Bailey, what are realistic expectations for year one? Like, what do you want to see Scott Frost do? I don't want a record, right? Because none of us know anything, right? We can all just throw out 7-5. No one knows anything, right? But what do you want to see foundationally, where you'll walk away from this season and go, okay, I feel good about the way UCF's heading?
It's so difficult with the way the portal works, but I would like to see guys that you can continue to build with going forward. And that's always going to be a little dodgy because you're going to have to retain them, and that's when player retention comes into everything. But guys that you can go into 2026 hopefully and say, this guy's worth keeping, this guy's worth keeping. Like, we want to make sure, put our resources into keeping these guys, and then hopefully set up the roster in a good enough spot for next year where you're maybe a quarterback away from not winning the conference or anything like that, but taking a sizable step forward. And I think it would be nice just to this is going to be the most abstract way to say I'd like to see progress, but just I want to have fun again. Like, when was the last time we had fun It was like we had fleeting moments of fun in the last couple of years, but sustained this is a fun team to watch. It's been a while, so I'd love to see that.
Was it 2018? Was that the last time
No.
the fan base was happy? Seriously, I'm serious.
The wider fan base maybe, but I don't think it was that far back.
2019, everyone was mad that they lost anything. 2020 was that whole mess of a season. 2021, half the team was injured. 2022 was the whole JRP Mikey debacle. 2023 was, why aren't they going undefeated their first year in the Big 12? And I think we all remember quite well what 2024 was.
We try to forget, though. I like how Ja'Cory Brown hasn't forgotten that there were 4 quarterbacks. I heard that during one of his media sessions. He made mention of that.
He may or may not have said something about a starter being named and not trying hard, but we'll talk about that later.
Well, which one was that? Was that EJ Colson? Which one?
Oh, that Dylan Risk. I could always tell.
Yeah. The pride of Stanford.
Chris, what about you?
ACC quarterback.
What do you want to see, Trace, that you'll say to yourself, hey, this has been a successful year? Again, it may not be in the scoreboard, it may not be in the standings, but what are the things that you're looking for that you'll go, hey, you know what? All right, this was a solid year one for Scott Frost.
12-0. I want to see a repeat of 2016 where he assembles a team that it puts him into a possible bowl situation. I want to have fun, like Bailey said. I want to see fast offense. I want to be pleasantly surprised by guys that we're not talking about. We don't know who any of these wide receivers are, really. And then I want to be talking in a couple of weeks on our shows about who stepped up. And boy, that person reminds me of so-and-so. And this season's got some juice in it, and feel good about the direction the program's heading in, and not see guys quit midway through. And that would all be signs of progress to me. But, I don't want to see him get run over, but I don't want to see a lot of close losses either, because that haunts Scott Frost, right? What is he, 5-22 in one-score games? I'm not going to feel good. I think, Christian, you may have mentioned this on one of your shows. If they start off 5-1 but finish 7-5, how does that change the trajectory of the season? So I want to see them have fun, be competitive, and start to believe in themselves and create some momentum and make the bounce house a intimidating venue again.
Yeah. The other thing I would say too is, and I've said this several times on our podcast, don't have a 3+ game losing streak, please. At least don't lose 4 or 5 in a row, because that just takes the entire momentum and just the whole wind out of a season when you go that long without winning and you're just like, let's just get to the end of the season like it's over. Like, if I will take more of a roller coaster season, I say this now, if it happens, I'll be.
Did you live through George O'Leary? What do you say?
I did, but I would take that over going an entire month and a half without winning a game and going into the bounce house week after week and thinking like, when I walk out of here in 4.5 hours, because games are so long these days, it's not going to be as in a happy mood.
All right, Christian, if you had to guess right now, and you have to be right, quarterback for UCF is whom?
Well, good news, I'm never wrong. Quite literally hasn't happened. Now,
the wrong takes get thrown out and not counted.
I think I have been adamant the entire summer and all of spring that it is going to be Taven Jackson. I fear reality has begun to turn against me as the season nears, but I feel like I'm in too deep to change my take at this point in time. So I'm sticking with Taven Jackson. I think that now we'll see. We're going to see what kind of guy Frost is really quickly, because I may be picking Taven Jackson because it's the Gus thing to do. Like, when in doubt, pick the guy you paid if you can't tell a difference between them. I don't know if it's going to play out that way. And honestly, if it ends up not being Taven, then Frost really is showing us that he might be different than Gus, because it just feels like everything that Frost has said and that the staff has said and even some of the players have said is there just isn't a lot of separation between these 3 guys. So it's easy for me, especially with what we just went through for the last 4 years, to default to, okay, it's going to be the guy you brought in through the portal and was your big portal acquisition. We got this guy. If Frost goes with Ja'Cory, if he goes with the guy who was already here and started some games last year, if he goes with Cam Fancher, who had a career at FAU, then maybe we see that things really are different. And his quote from last week about how they're going to start you, whether you make a lot of money or a little money, whoever's the best player will be out there. Maybe he can live up to that. I think these decisions in modern college football are a little more complicated than that. But for all of those convoluted reasons, sticking with Taven Jackson is my pick until proven otherwise.
Bailey Adams, the quarterback will be.
I want to go with Ja'Cory Brown, just because what Christian and I keep talking about. I don't know if we talked about this in yesterday's episode or not, but if all of them are more or less the same guy, if you're thinking, they're not separating themselves at all, it's kind of whoever we throw out there is going to be around the same level. Go with the guy who gives you elite rushing threat. Like I think that aspect of what Ja'Carri does, if he can just be serviceable, which he wasn't last year when it came time to throw the ball and hit the easy throws, he couldn't do those. But if he can just hit the easy throws, I think he's by far and away the best option of the three.
All right, Trace, you can do the funniest thing ever right now, Trace. You can really
Damn.
Who do you want as QB1 Trace Trelko?
I'd be surprised genuinely if it's Cam Fancher. I'm not sure that it matters who is QB1 in week 1 because I'm not sure that's going to be the same person that starts against North Carolina. I think we see 2 quarterbacks for a while because I think Ja'Carri can do things for you. And as I've gotten to talk with Ja'Carri, he's grown on me. And I think more now than ever that Gus put him in a very bad position and didn't accentuate his positives, right? And put him in, remember that, was it Iowa State where it's 3rd and short and he hasn't thrown long? And then I asked Gus postgame, well, we're just trying to win games. Yeah, well, not that way. That didn't work, So I think he did a disservice to Ja'Carri. And I think there's something there, but I think we're going to see both of them play pretty liberally the first 2 games. And I don't know that we're going to know a QB1 maybe until who starts North Carolina.
I think we buried the lead there. Was that a Gus Malzahn impression you did somewhere?
That was incredible.
Wasn't bad.
Will you ask Frost a question in your Gus Malzahn voice? Like, can we bridge the eras here?
That's good. I like that challenge.
Let's see. That's my challenge for you. It doesn't have to be like this week, just at some point over the course of the season, preferably after a loss when things are tense. Try to lighten things up. In Manhattan, Kansas, drop the Gus impression on him.
I just want somebody to ask him what his favorite food is, and as long as he gives a better answer than Gus gave when he said he loves Mexican food with the chips and dip and salsa, then we're already on a better.
It's delicious.
It is, but
there really needed to be, Adam, at some point you put a collage together of all of Gus's awkward answers to very lighthearted questions. Well, Halloween candy, Thanksgiving sides. He never liked any of those questions.
Talk enough about the whole him accidentally dissing Carolina barbecue on social media.
Well, speaking of things that make Trace uncomfortable, Bailey and Christian, on your show, you guys like to have a lot of fun, right? You guys always do some fun stuff. You're not afraid to sort of wander into the ether of whatever is on your brains here. That is not the calling card of one Trace Trelko. So this segment is meant to just make Trace uncomfortable. I have random prop bets here. I just random things that I want to get your opinions on. Each of you have to weigh in on these things. These are not the least bit serious in any way, shape, or form. Trace, enjoy yourself, my friend. I'm going to start with you on this one, by the way, Trace. This is a yes-no question. I'm charting these answers here.
I like that. I've got a 50-50 shot here.
There's less yes-no later on. Will Paul Rubelt score a touchdown this year, Trace?
Yes.
Or no?
Yes. Week 2 against North Carolina A&T.
How we jump on the end zone? We throw in the tackle eligible play and a screen.
He's just gonna get a handoff and run it right down the middle.
All right, Christian Simmons, Paul Rubelt, end zone.
Yes,
that's ESPN all over it when the 6'10" guy scores.
After Ja'Carri fumbles and Rubelt has to dive on it in the end zone to secure the touchdown, he will get it that way.
Whoa!
Wow, Bailey, clean sweep. Will
Rubelt
end zone.
Yeah, I think we do tackle eligible, and he's left wide open the same way. I think it was Jamias Pittman was way back when. Let's get another big guy touchdown.
Good call.
Right. And more
serious. I'm saying I want to have fun. That would qualify as fun. So
is it fun when it's picked? Is that fun? I don't know.
It's not Isaiah Bowser throwing the ball, so.
Whoa.
Wow. First, I'll start this with you. More serious. Who will lead this team in rushing touchdowns?
Jaden Nixon. I don't know why I hesitated on that when I literally just picked Jaden Nixon as offensive MVP on our podcast that we recorded yesterday. So I'll go with Jaden Nixon. I could be horrifically wrong about that. I feel like there are a lot of contenders here between him and Miles Montgomery and whoever the quarterback is, but I'll stick with Jaden.
Bailey.
Part of me wants to go with Ja'Carri Brown, but I would also go with Jaden Nixon. I think if Ja'Carri is the quarterback for much of the year, which I would at this point maybe like him to be, he could have a lot, but I think Jaden Nixon's probably the safest bet.
So I'm going Miles Montgomery, but not double digits. I think they're going to have multiple guys with multiple scores.
I could see that here. All right, you guys alluded to this earlier. It feels like it's been about 7 decades since UCF had a special teams return touchdown. Bailey, is this the year UCF breaks through? Is there a kick return or punt return touchdown in this upcoming season?
No. I don't know why. I don't even know
Statistically,
why.
you're right.
You're not wrong.
I don't think so. I don't really have any reason why. I don't think so.
You're also not wrong. Trace, return touchdown this year.
Jaden Nixon will return 2.
Wow.
I'm going big time.
Who says Trace doesn't like to have fun?
Yeah. Apparently, it's several people.
Hey. Christian Simmons, return touchdown.
I think you're going to see a UCF returner run into the end zone with the ball in his hands. I think you're just also going to see a holding flag 30 yards back on the field that will prevent that from standing. So I'm going to go no.
That's probably.
Do we see a guy run out of the end zone, run back into the end zone, and make it to the 1?
Oh, dear God, I hope not.
We've had multiple guys do that, by the way.
Yeah, no, I was just
In
thinking
an order
that.
number.
Johnny Richardson, Christian Peterson. We've had a few people do that. All right. This was all due respect to our good friend, Cossack Advisor. For every year, we had a tight end reception competition. So, Trace, I'll start with you. Using all the tight ends on UCF's roster, have to be an available tight end. No Paul Rubel's count here. Over 27.5 receptions for tight ends this year, Trace.
Was that the number?
You want the over or the under?
No, was that the number? Or was it not 24.5, or did you up it?
We upped it after the couple of years.
Under. Under.
You're going under.
Under.
Okay, under 27.5. Christian, 27.5 tight end receptions.
I'm going over for 3 reasons, and those 3 reasons are Dylan Wade, Kylan Fox, and no wide receivers who can play.
That third one's a good one. Bailey, over under 27.5 tight end receptions.
I'm smashing the over, and I know it probably depends on who the quarterback is, but I could see Dylan Wade's the guy that I would think, and I could see him with like 40 receptions. Like he could be their leading receiver.
40?
He could. Yes, I think he could be their leading receiver.
Bailey
So you've threaded the needle here that Jakari's going to hit the short passes and everything's going to work out. And he's not going to run touchdowns. And
Yeah.
We've heard a lot.
I have a very specific vision for this offense, apparently.
We've heard a lot about this defense. Christian Simmons, does anybody get double-digit sacks? It's been since Shaquem Griffin in 2016 that we've seen this. Does anybody get double-digit sacks this year?
Man, I was going to say yes, then you dropped the second part of that stat, and now I'm back to no. I don't think so. I think the defense has a chance to not just be solid, but be really good, but that just feels like a super high bar that I am afraid to bet on.
Bailey.
I'm going to say no, but again, with my very specific vision for how this season's going to play out, I think someone's going to get like 8.5 to 9.5. Like it'll be close. Maybe Nigel, but I don't think it's going to be double digits.
Trace?
As a unit, they will have double digits, but one guy will not have double digits.
All right, here's a fun one. Bailey, I'll start with you. Will any receiver, and you said yes already, I think, so I think I know the answer. Will any receiver on this team have over 29.5 catches? Over under 29.5 catches. Does anybody get over that 29.5 receiver?
I think my NFL brain is like sneaking in because these numbers sound so low, and I'm like, yeah,
they do seem
easily.
low.
But I'll say yes, very hesitant.
It's a little more than 2 catches a game.
Yeah, I'll say very hesitantly yes.
We can find it. Trace, 29.5, then you want the over?
Over.
Christian, one receiver, over 29.5. One solid receiver wearing UCF jersey, gloves, maybe even a helmet, 29.5 catches.
I'm taking over, but for a depressing reason. I want to be clear that the depression is what's fueling this. I think I'm worried we're in for like a Brandon Johnson in 2021 situation where there's just like one wide receiver who is trustworthy and just gets a lot of the production because of that. So I'll take the over.
All right, Scott Frost likes to have a little fun on special teams. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. See that Nebraska-Northwestern game. Trace, do we see an onside kick this year for UCF? Does UCF
at some point
an onside kick?
Yeah, at some point. North Carolina A&T, week 2.
Christian, onside kick for UCF this year, yes or no?
Yeah, I think we see it when UCF's down 2 scores with 2 minutes to go in the game and they're trying to get the ball back.
Okay. Bailey, onside kick.
For the same reason, I would say yes. I think there's going to be at least a game at some point this season where they're looking to get the ball back in a last-ditch effort. It's probably not going to work, but they got to try it.
Christian, will more than 2.5 quarterbacks start a game this year?
Dear God in heaven, I hope not. I'm going to say no. I think 2 start. I don't think we get to 3.
Bailey, 2.5, over, under, start.
I hate going after Christian because it's just like, oh yeah, I think he's right. But yeah, we've talked about this, and I think it might be 2, but I don't think I hope it's not 3 or 4 or 5.
Oh.
How would it be 5?
You never know.
Davi.
Trace 2.5. You want the over or the under?
2 under.
All right, let me ask this then, Trace. All right. So 2.5 over under play this year.
Over.
So 3 quarterbacks will see the field at some point this year.
Maybe more.
Maybe
Maybe Brock Hansel.
Here we go. This is why you can't play these games with Trace. Christian, 2.5 over under play this year.
Sticking with the under, I think 2 guys play. That's it.
Bailey?
I'm going with the over. I think we might see 3 in week 1. I think it might happen.
That's a good
week
point.
1 or week 2.
All right, we did a little math recently on Sons today and recognized when you throw out kind of Scott Frost high and low, he averages about 28 points a game as an offensive coach, as a play caller. So, Bailey, I'll start with you. 27.5 points a game scored for this offense. You want the over or the under?
I want the under. I just don't. I don't feel that. I can't. With how little we know about the offense, I can't bring myself to take the over.
Trace, 27.5 average score this year.
We don't know enough yet. Under.
Christian, clean sweep?
Smashing the over. And hear me out why. Okay. I think that they will put up significant, serious points in their first 2 games of the season. And while I have serious doubts about this offense's ability to do anything, I think that the inability to do anything is going to look more like to the tune of that like 17 to 24 points per game range than like a true terrible like 10 or 13 points most Big 12 games. You combine just that with those 2 big scores early in the season and you get there. So I'm taking the over.
See, Christian knows how to play the game. I like this is why I like this is where we're at. All right, last one for you guys. True or false? Baylor, start with you. The last game this season will be in Provo, Utah. True or false?
Come on. Because it's August 5th, I'm gonna say false.
Okay.
Because I want to believe that they're gonna make it to a bowl. And I really do think they can. I don't know that they will. I think they can, but I want to believe it. So I'll go with it's gonna be false for now.
I like August Bailey. All right, Trace. Provo, Utah. Last game or no?
They got to be at 6 wins before they go to Provo, Utah, in order to get that 13th game. I don't think they're going to win any games on the road, so they're going to have to do very well at home. I'm going to say yes because, like Bailey, I want to have optimism.
Speaking of optimism, Christian Simmons, what do you say? Last game of the year, Provo, Utah, yes or no?
Oh, man, you guys are making me be the way. True. I believe that will be the final game of the season. I'm anywhere from 5 to 7 wins, depending on the day. I think UNC is going to be the swing game if they lose UNC. I think asking for a 4-5 or better record in the Big 12 is a lot, especially as Trace pointed out with the road slate. Totally think they could. This is not like a firm. They are absolutely not going to a bowl, but I don't know. That in my head, what's Bailey's talking about his visions. My vision is them going into Provo 5 and 6 and not getting it done. I don't know why that's where I'm at, but so.
I mean, I know they don't have the quarterback now, but that is a difficult road game. If they need that one, remember in 2016, what were they, 6-3 and lost the last 3, but they were already bowl eligible before they started their swoon. You know, they just wore out towards the end. They can't win in Utah. I don't care what time that game is.
Trivia question
that's my
I don't
lock.
have the answer to. When was the last time UCF played that final Thanksgiving weekend game outside the state of Florida?
Wasn't it like 2011? Wasn't it something? It goes back more than.
It has to be way back, right? Because it has to
more than a
predate
decade.
USF sharing a conference with them. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no shot.
Something like 2011.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Well, if you watch the Suns today, guys, you know we end on what's in the box. Trace is not prepared for that tonight, and that's fine. I'm not going to do this. But I want to bring something back to you two because I feel like you two can commiserate with me a little bit. On a recent episode, Trace pulled out the question, which was to describe him in one word. I gave my answer, and I have not heard about it since. He talks about it like every time I see him now. He has not given it up. He's not forgotten it. I think he may have changed my contact info on his phone to just this word. So, Christian, you've known Trace Trelko a long time. So the question for you, one word to describe Trace is what?
Resolute.
Like that.
Resolute.
Bailey, do you want to try to top that?
Hold on, I'm trying to see if I'm going to use this word right. That was too quick.
Well, we've got to look up the definition of the word.
Yeah.
That doesn't bode well.
I'm going to go with needling.
Needling.
He likes to. He picks at me too many times for me to not go with that.
I type Orlando Rays, and he goes, "I'm not talking anymore to you for the rest of the night," and then pretty much doesn't.
Yeah.
All right, Trey. So your options are amongst the three of us. I said methodical. Christian has resolute, and Bailey has needling. Which of these three do you accept as the answer?
Christian, use resolute in a sentence as an example. We're going to be like the spelling bee.
I can't even say it. Trace is resolute.
I'm not. Now, all I said, Adam, was I didn't disagree with methodical. I just wasn't sure that should be the first word that comes to your mind. That's all. I don't have any problem with the word methodical. I support it. There are a lot of other choices. not, as we've learned, needling and resolute amongst them. I don't like any of them as the first thing.
What were you expecting us to say? Like, what word were you?
Genuine, nice, kind-hearted, compassionate.
Not to me.
By the way, doing some quick research here, guys. I think the last time UCF played out of state after Thanksgiving, 2014 at East Carolina, December 4th.
How'd that go?
Oh, yeah.
That was a win. Is that the Hell Perryman? I think that's the Hell
Perryman. That was the Hell Perryman.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. That was a conference championship winning game.
That got us a berth in the St. Petersburg Bowl, which didn't turn out so well.
That was my first time and my first and only time in the Trop was that game. Very fun. Just kidding. It was terrible.
All right, Christian Bailey, plug your show. Where can people find you? What are you guys working on? I know season's coming up soon. I'm sure you got some fun stuff planned. Where can people catch up with you guys?
Yeah, take it away, Bailey.
That game was on December 4th.
When you're in the St. Petersburg Bowl, you're not sniffing New Year's Day.
No. The ECU game was December 4th.
Oh,
yeah.
There was something weird the first couple of years in the AAC where they were like playing games that like what is now.
I remembered it being, I want to say it was a Thursday night game, right? And I was like, well, it wasn't on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So that
I think the SMU game was like that in 2013 too. Oh, okay, go ahead. Pegasus Podcast.
Pegasus Podcast. Wherever you get your podcast.
2013 at SMU, Christian. You're correct.
Wherever you get your podcast, Pegasus Podcast, also on the Sons of UCF YouTube channel, at Bailey J. Adams 22, at by C.A. Simmons, at Pegasus Podcast.
Bye, everybody.